Ray Kroc walked into a hamburger stand in San Bernardino, California in 1954. He walked out with a blueprint for one of the largest real estate empires on earth. He was 52 years old. He was selling milkshake machines door to door. He had almost no money, a bad back, diabetes, and arthritis in both hands. 30 years later, when he died, McDonald's owned more corners, more intersections, more prime commercial land than almost any private entity on the planet. Here is what almost nobody understood, even the students at the top business schools in America. Ray Kroc was never really in the hamburger business. Today, we're going to show you what business he was actually in, and why Robert Kiyosaki uses this exact story to teach the single lesson that separates people who get rich from people who just get busy. Raymond Albert Kroc was born in Oak Park, Illinois in 1902, Chicago outskirts, Czech immigrant family. His father worked for Western Union. His mother taught piano. Kroc dropped out of high school during the First World War and lied about his age to join the Red Cross as an ambulance driver. In his training company was another underage kid drawing cartoons in his spare time, a boy named Walt Disney. The two of them barely spoke, but decades later, both men would end up building empires by selling something the customer thought was one thing, while the business itself was something else entirely. After the war, Kroc came back to Chicago and drifted. He played jazz piano in speakeasies. He sold ribbon novelties. He sold paper cups for the Lily Tulip Cup Company for 17 years. He was a good salesman. He was not a rich one. In the 1950s, Kroc got the exclusive distribution rights to a machine called the multi-mixer, a device that could spin 5 milkshakes at once. He drove across America in a used sedan, trying to sell them to drugstores and diners. Most places bought 1, maybe 2. Then, one order stopped him cold. A single hamburger stand in San Bernardino, California, had ordered 8 multi-mixers. 8. That was 40 milkshakes at a time. Kroc got on a plane to see who on earth needed that kind of volume. What he found changed his life. 2 brothers, Richard and Maurice McDonald, were running a small octagonal drive-in. No car hops, no plates, no silverware, just a 15-cent hamburger, a 10-cent bag of fries, a milkshake, and a system. The system was the miracle. The McDonald brothers had stripped the American diner down to a factory floor. Every burger identical, every fry the same length. A customer got food in 30 seconds. There was a line around the building. Kroc watched for 1 full day. Then he asked the brothers a question. Why aren't there hundreds of these? They shrugged. They were already comfortable. They didn't want the headache. So Kroc made them an offer. Let me franchise it for you, nationally. They agreed. And here is where the story becomes about something much bigger than hamburgers. The deal Kroc signed in 1954 was terrible for Kroc. The brothers kept control of the recipe, the name, the design. Kroc got a franchise fee of $950 per store and a royalty of 1.9% of sales, of which he had to hand 0.5% back to the brothers. He was, on paper, running errands for 2 men in California. For the first 2 years, Kroc lost money on every store he opened. He was going broke, selling the most popular hamburger in America. Then, in 1956, A former finance executive named Harry Sonneborn walked into Kroc's office and looked at the books. Sonneborn said something Kroc would repeat for the rest of his life. "Ray, you're not in the hamburger business. You're in the real estate business." Sonneborn's idea was simple and radical. Kroc would create a new company, Franchise Realty Corporation. That company would find the land. It would sign the long-term lease or buy the lot outright. Then it would sublease the land back to the franchisee at a markup, plus a percentage of sales. The franchisee would pay for the building, the fryers, the burgers, the labor, the losses. Kroc would own the ground underneath every single golden arch in America. The hamburger was the traffic generator. The real asset was the corner it sat on. Once Kroc understood that, the whole game changed. By 1961, he wanted the McDonald brothers out. They still owned the name, they still held the handshake, so Kroc bought them out for $2.7 million in cash, a fortune at the time. Plus, according to Kroc's own account, a verbal handshake promise of 1% of future sales forever. That handshake was never put in writing. The brothers walked away with $2.7 million each after taxes. They never received the 1%. Today, that 1% would be worth hundreds of millions of dollars a year. Richard McDonald reportedly said, decades later, that he did not regret it. His brother said less. Kroc took the company public in 1965. By the time he died in 1984, McDonald's was the largest owner of retail real estate on the planet. He left an estate estimated at around $600 million. Not from hamburgers, from the ground under the hamburgers. Now here is where Robert Kiyosaki enters the story. In Rich Dad, Poor Dad, Lesson 3, Kiyosaki tells a story about being invited to speak at the University of Texas at Austin Business School. He shares the podium that day with Ray Kroc himself. After the speeches, Kroc joins the MBA students for a beer at a local bar. He looks around the room and asks them a question. "What business am I in?" The students laugh. They think it's a trick. One of them finally answers, "Ray, everybody in the world knows you're in the hamburger business." Kroc chuckles. He says, "That's what I thought you'd say." Then he leans forward and tells a room full of soon-to-be MBAs the truth. "Ladies and gentlemen, I'm not in the hamburger business. My business is real estate." Kiyosaki writes that this single sentence rewired his understanding of wealth. Because Kroc was drawing a line that most people never see, between the thing you do for money and the thing you own that makes money. The hamburger was Kroc's profession. The real estate was Kroc's business. Kiyosaki calls this mind your own business. And it does not mean stop gossiping. It means while you go to your job, while you sell paper cups, while you flip burgers, while you code, while you drive for a rideshare, you must, in parallel, be building an asset column that is completely separate from your paycheck. Your job pays your bills. Your assets buy your freedom. Most people confuse the two their entire working lives. They spend 40 years growing their profession and 0 years growing their business. Ray Kroc sold multi-mixers until he was 52. That was his profession. It never made him rich. What made him rich was noticing, in one hamburger stand in California, that there was a business hiding underneath a profession, and having the ruthlessness to seize it. If this is the kind of story that makes you look at your own life a little differently, if you're the kind of person who wants to see the machinery under the surface, hit subscribe. We publish one of these every week. That's how you make sure the next one finds you. Back to Kroc. There is a callback we owe you. Last episode, we told you about Ivar Kruger, the Match King, a man who built a global empire on paper and then watched it evaporate in a Paris hotel room in 1932. Kruger and Kroc represent the two ends of a single spectrum. Kruger sold the story of an asset. Kroc bought the actual dirt. Kruger's empire was one audit away from vanishing. Kroc's empire is still standing because the land is still there. That is the difference between financial fiction and financial fact. Here is our editorial take. Ray Kroc was not a nice man. He pushed the McDonald brothers out of the company they invented. He honored a handshake with silence. He was, by every account, ruthless. But he was not a fraud. And this is the important nuance for anyone building wealth today. Kroc understood something that most entrepreneurs never learn. The product you sell to the customer is almost never the asset that makes you rich. The asset is usually one layer deeper, sometimes two. For McDonald's, the customer bought a burger. The franchisee bought a system. Kroc bought the corner. For Amazon, the customer buys a book. The seller buys logistics. Amazon owns the warehouses and the cloud. For Apple, the customer buys a phone. The developer buys a platform. Apple owns the store and the tax on every transaction inside it. The pattern repeats. Whoever owns the layer underneath the product owns the compounding. Kroc's genius was not the hamburger. It was recognizing in his 50s, after 3 decades of failure, that the visible business and the real business are almost never the same business. And that once you understand that, you never look at any successful company the same way again. So how do you apply this in your own life in 2026? Start with a simple question. What is the layer underneath what you do? If you drive for a rideshare, the visible business is driving. The layer underneath is the vehicle itself, which depreciates. And one level deeper, the platform data, which you do not own. That is a warning sign. It tells you the profession will not become a business. If you cut hair in a salon, the profession is the cutting. But the business could be the chair rental, the product line, or, at the top of the stack, the building the salon sits in. That is the Kroc layer. If you write software for a company, your profession is coding. Your business could be equity, a side product you own, rental property funded by your salary, or index fund shares that pay dividends while you sleep. That is your asset column. The rule is this: every dollar your profession earns, you must be interrogated with one question. Is this dollar going to feed my profession? Or is a piece of it going to feed my business? Because Ray Kroc, at 52, was one man selling milkshake machines. At 65, he owned more American corners than any private citizen in history. The difference was not talent. The difference was one clean decision made every single week for a decade to route the cash from the profession into an asset column that would eventually feed him. Mind your own business, not just his, yours. If you've made it this far, you already know what to do. Hit subscribe. We publish one of these every week. Each one is a real historical figure, a real financial lesson, and a real attempt to hand you a lens you can use in your own life. That's the whole channel, nothing else. And before you go, tell me in the comments, what is the asset column you are actually building outside your paycheck? Not the one you plan to build someday, the one you are building right now, this month. I read every single one. Next week on Yield Tales, we travel back to 1876. A young inventor walks into the headquarters of Western Union, at that time the largest and most powerful company in America, and offers to sell them his new invention for $100,000. Western Union says no. They call it a toy. Within 25 years, that inventor's company is worth more than Western Union will ever be again. His name was Alexander Graham Bell, and the story of the phone call Western Union refused to buy is the greatest opportunity cost lesson in the history of American business. We'll see you next week.